It is wonderful to be back and here with Soul Source. And this past year, part of my process has been about paying more attention to the tradition that I come from. And part of this is that as my children are growing up and going out into the world, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm sending them out with the tools and the gifts that I was given, as well as the others that they've been exposed to by growing up mostly in this country. And so reflecting back on what were the gifts that came to me from being raised in South Africa, being raised in an African community. And one of the biggest gifts, though when I was growing up was not one that I recognized as a gift, was the use of proverbs to teach all kinds of lessons. And I've spoken about this over this last year, about the many proverbs that come out of the African experience. And I know that everybody knows that it takes a village to raise a child and all the rest of it. And so, but I also tell people that, for every proverb that is great and deep like that, there are like 30 or 40 that don't make any sense at all. And just because they don't make sense doesn't mean people don't use them. I know a friend of mine whose mother used to always say to her, the best vegetables grow on the rubbish dump. And she would say, and I could not for the life of me work out what is she telling me. I mean, because she would be telling me this when she's complaining about something that I've done. And I'm thinking, well, if the best vegetables grow on the rubbish dump, then clearly if I'm a rubbish dump, then you must be proud of me. But thinking about today and the empowerment of women, what the proverb that came to my mind was one that says, a mother can share a fly with her children. That however small the resources are, a woman can find a way to make those resources work for her family, for her community. And I've just come back from South Africa. Actually, I came back on Tuesday. Today is Saturday, right? Okay, jet lag. It's okay. I came back on Tuesday and had the time to spend time with family members, talking about the women who raised us, and in particular talking about my two grandmothers. And when I think of that proverb that a mother can share a fly, I really do see the example of so many women in South Africa and across the continent who are not just sharing a fly, but making the fly feed the 5,000, if you like. And thinking back on those two women as, for me, models of African women. That we're talking to my mother about her mother, who was widowed and with no skills, and had been living on the farm that her husband owned, and because of apartheid laws that said that black women were perpetual minors and therefore could not control any property, lost the farm and was a single mother with 3 children, no skills, and went to work as a domestic worker. And my mother says that, when I was in high school, I didn't think it was strange that I found myself in a Catholic boarding school. And it wasn't until I was older that I realized that all the other students at that school came from the black middle class. That their parents were teachers and doctors and nurses and lawyers. And my mother was a domestic worker. And how did she swing that? And it was only after talking to uncles and cousins that I found out how she begged, stole, and borrowed, basically, for my education. And that she said, you know, whatever happens to you in your life, I don't want you to find yourself in the place that I found myself, as a woman with no skills, forced then to work in domestic employment. And just talking again to my father about his mother, and how when he was in they called it normal college at that time, which is kind of a teacher training towards a degree type of thing, and how his mother, who took in laundry to make their income, to spread the income, would early on a Monday morning, before he had to go back to college, go and ask those places where she was going to take laundry to give her the money in advance of the work, so that she could give it to him to go to school. And he said, again, I didn't think it through at the time, but then I realized that it meant that that extra income was not there for the family, that it was being invested in me for that week. And those are the stories of people I know, of women who I am related to. But I know that they're not amazing individuals on the African continent, that they're not some way unique women in our community, that in fact they are the rule rather than the exception. Women who look for ways to empower their children and to improve their communities. That